You will actually see the tornado.
You can see how big the tornado is, and it's, as you said before, Roger, it's reminiscent of last year's tornado in Heston because it is so wide and produces smaller tornadoes. And our photographer, as he heads down Central,
here you get a good view of it.
Yeah,
it's
getting
unbelievable.
a better videotape. That's in a field, but as we know, it left the field and went right through Andover, especially near Central and Andover Road, where we saw the damage, and we will see the damage later on in this videotape. We know.
And you can see the debris revolving around the funnel. It's just amazing. That's debris which was probably picked up miles before. It tends to take it for miles, and who knows what parts of houses or
if you can look closely, see that debris? That could have been picked up, as Roger said, in southeast Wichita, McConnell Air Force Base area, the Hayesville area. We know the storm caused extensive damage in the Hayesville area and McConnell Air Force Base area also. Who knows where that debris could end up? Because right now it's going through a field, so obviously that debris is from buildings of 5 minutes past, at least. There you see the hail starting to. And as Merrill said, the hail usually precedes the tornado. He's back in the car now.
Here we are along Central. You may recognize some of these large homes out there around the Crestview area and to the east of there. And the storm here, the tornado south of Central, moving to the northeast at this point. These pictures shot, I'm going to guess, about 25 to 30 minutes ago, maybe.
Yeah. About 7 o'clock, maybe.
As far as the worst damage we've heard of has been at McConnell Air Force Base, and also at, I believe it was Greenwich and Pawnee, where some 40 homes were apparently just leveled. Again, we have had words of injuries. Obviously, emergency crews are working. No confirmed reports of any deaths right now. We are waiting to get updates on some of those reports.
This is the storm as it passed through Andover, but before it got to Andover, we should recap. It didn't really hit Derby, but it started forming around that area. And the first place that we know of that did extensive damage was near McConnell Air Force Base. And as you just heard Bob say, extensive damage there, too numerous. Also, major damage in Hayesville.
This is the turnpike. We just went under there, and we are told that right there where we drove by, an 18-wheeler is overturned, a semi-trailer truck on the turnpike by Andover.
Apparently, a lot of people, as Bob said, may have been caught off guard because a lot of people, well, it was during rush hour.
That's right.
And especially on a Friday during rush hour. And a lot of people were still in their cars. Through Hayesville, along Harry and Webb, heavy damage, and then on into Andover, and the heaviest damage in Andover at Central and Andover. We're also very, very concerned about a report of a trailer park hit by this very tornado on hydraulic. And the woman we spoke with on the phone said there was such heavy damage at the trailer park. And as you know, a tornado like this, as you're seeing right now, going through a trailer park, you can imagine the devastation there. And in a trailer park, unless there's an underground cellar or shelter in that tornado park, that's the sad and horrible part about it, is that there's no place to take cover. And we just have to, we haven't gotten any reports of injuries yet. We know that there have to be injuries in this trailer park near hydraulic, but no reports yet. Of course, we'll pass those along to you as soon as we get them.
Here's some important information. You may want to write this down if you have gotten damage where you live. Perhaps you are no longer able to live there, or if you know of someone who needs help, an emergency shelter has been set up for those with damaged homes at White Elementary School. That is at 5148 South Kansas. That's 1 block east of Hydraulic on Kansas. They have water, telephones, and they're hoping to get electricity set up soon. So sort of an emergency center there at White Elementary School, again, 5148 South Kansas in Wichita, for those who have lost their homes or their homes have been damaged by the tornado you're looking at right now.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of power outages. We know the whole town of Benton is without power at this point, though. That's the only report we have of a whole town being out of power, but obviously there's scattered power outages, or not so scattered. Surmise there are probably some minor injuries, but we don't know yet. As I said before, the trailer park, all we know from a caller is it was a trailer park on hydraulic, sustained heavy damage, and we know heavy damage to homes near McConnell Air Force Base and McConnell Air Force Base.
And businesses in Andover, as we've seen this with our own eyes on videotape, extensive damage. The Central and Andover area, a shopping center, heavily damaged, along with the service stations and so forth, right around by the tornado you're seeing right now.
Again, the Sheriff's Department, unfortunately, we have to report this again. The Sheriff's Department has just called us and asked us to have people, to tell people to stay away from hydraulic on Broadway and also out of the way of McConnell Air Force Base. Apparently, more sightseers are headed to that area. And the Sheriff's Department has asked us to tell you folks, if you're a sightseer, please stay out. Even if you have a relative, at least wait for a while so the emergency vehicles can get through to help your relative or loved one or a friend in that area, because the sightseers are hampering emergency crews from getting, again, traffic lights out from hydraulic on Broadway and near McConnell Air Force Base.
It looked like it formed.
But he was caught right in the middle of a devastating tornado. This is what you call first-hand reporting. Unfortunately, he survived to tell us about it, and he joins us now. Greg, I still can't figure out how you survived to tell us about it. We're glad you're here, though.
Well, we quite frankly didn't think we were going to. It was that close. It's been a night that few people, of course, will forget. Photojournalist Ted Lewis and I were heading south on the Kansas Turnpike. We happened to be working on another story at the time. We had no idea that a tornado was anywhere near the vicinity of where we were, about 15 miles north of El Dorado, as we say on the Kansas Turnpike. We were very fortunate, because when it appeared and it came right toward us, we were able to escape and hide underneath the steel girders of a highway overpass. We were heading south on the Kansas Turnpike. Suddenly, the vague shape of a tornado began to appear in the direction we were heading.
Let's go, Craig, let's go. Listen to the wind, let's go, let's go, let's go.
As we videotaped the twister, it began to appear larger and larger, heading in our general direction. At times, it appeared to disappear, only to touch down again or reappear seconds later. When it became clear that it was heading directly toward us, we jumped in our car.
Go, go, go. Shoot it. Better floor it, better floor it.
As the twister moved closer, we tried to outrun it in our car, trying to make it to a bridge overpass where other cars and trucks were hiding. We made it just in time, seconds before the tornado hit.
Get up under the girders. Is that where we want to go? Yes. Underneath the girders. Keep rolling, Ted. It's coming at us. Keep rolling.
Don't worry about it. Just hang on.
I got you.
That's what you do.
It sounded like a freight train. It just passed right on top of us. People very upset. People underneath the girders of this overpass. They're still hanging on for their lives. It was a tremendous rush. Flying debris everywhere. Some people look to be like they're all right, but they have scratches and bruises. Here comes another one. Hang on, Ted. I got you. Hang on, you're okay. Hang on. You're all right.
Don't put your hand over my mouth.
It's okay.
It's over.
A little break. You guys just about didn't make it.
Well, there were a lot of people wedged underneath those girders, and thank goodness they were there. Once we determined that everyone who was underneath the bridge had indeed survived, we began looking to our south along the Kansas Turnpike, just 100 feet away. We found the first of many injured people. All over the Kansas Turnpike, there were injuries and wreckage.
Pulse is irregular. I can't tell if there's any internal injuries, but probably. The other guy's mostly superficial lacerations.
So get me the trauma kit and a spine board and C-collar and foam wedges and tape.
This man was thrown from his car after it was picked up by the twister and thrown across the highway into a ditch. The mangled wreckage lay next to him. Near the center divider, the other man in his car, bleeding profusely. People nearby, including a doctor, trying to tend to him.
You need some place to sit down.
Yeah, I'd come up on the road. This would be the best place. Pallet's probably your best bet.
And some 30 yards away, a tractor-trailer rig, thrown from the southbound lane all the way across the highway and lying on its side. The trucker inside survived.
I watched it approach as close as I dared, jump back in the sleeper.
Sure. Okay.
I was southbound.
Okay.
Next thing I knew, I was over here.
Northbound.
Yeah, on the northbound side.
Completely turned over. You were inside trapped?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Very scary. Very quick. I chose the lesser of two evils, either jump out and run or ride it out. I rode it out.
On our way back, we saw lots of tractor-trailer rigs over on their sides, wreckage strewn everywhere, lots of cars, and it appeared to be many injured people as well. We don't have a full count. As I say, we just got back about an hour ago and didn't have any time to do anything but put these together, and sorry I couldn't clean up a bit.
Okay.
You are forgiven. There had to be that moment under the bridge for you and Ted where you weren't sure you were getting out.
Yeah, it's really true. Ted and I talked about it as we were flying back to Wichita, and I'll tell you, we both thought that it might be the end there. It really is intense when it comes right through you, about 300 or 400 mile an hour winds, and it can just as easily whisk you away.
It's interesting we spend so much time talking about it and reporting on it, but could never even know till you've gone through it.
Absolutely.
Greg, we're glad you're back. Thank you, sir.
Very glad.
It swept.
We should point out it has not been edited. Obviously, we're just trying to get the pictures to you as quickly as possible. These are some, you see the one woman with the blanket thrown around her being loaded into this emergency vehicle. Obviously, a lot of vehicles have been brought out as a contingency to try to take care of as many people as possible. A lady running up. This is right here. This is the base hospital, believe it or not, trying to get the door open. And another terrible irony here was that there was some emergency equipment at the hospital damaged. We saw a heavily damaged fire truck that was drivable, fortunately, taken out of there. We also saw a ambulance that was damaged, but you could also drive it. But that picture speaks for itself. Just some unbelievable devastation. People walking around, obviously thankful to be alive if they were in the path of this storm. But we should also point out that McConnell has gotten organized very quickly. You see the power trucks and other emergency equipment moving into place. We've also seen a number of soldiers carrying their M16 rifles. And we should point out that if you try and come anywhere near here, you'll be ushered away. So if you're trying to do some sightseeing, just forget about it for now. These people have plenty of things to do, because this base, as we've said and we'll repeat again, has been damaged heavily. Well, you look at those trees and they've just been sheared off. It seemed like the tornado, from watching the video, as it formed down in Derby south, just seemed to get bigger and bigger. It was amazing. The airman that shot the video probably was taking his life into his own hands. I believe you're looking at some base housing now, which is just to the east of Rock Road. And boy, as you can see there, it's obviously taken a hit.
Bob, can I jump in and ask you a question
ahead.
here? We saw some people working to open a fire hydrant there, a fire truck, apparently. Are there any fires still going on the base that you can see?
Boy, Roger, the problem we're having with getting official information was that South Rock Road was barricaded off where we were, and really the people weren't in a position to give us official information.
Yes.
However, we did talk to some people from the base, and as far as fires, I'm not sure, but the one person I did talk to, the B1 controller, said as far as he knew, no serious injuries, but that could change, obviously.
I know you're having trouble getting information. Any estimate of how many patients were in the hospital at the time?
There was just no way to know, but the person I talked to said that that hospital, unfortunately, has just been devastated. There were actually vehicles inside the building after this tornado came through. Also, another terrible thing was a man was telling me that there was a security officer at McConnell telling him to get out of there. The tornado came through and hit his car. And as we were talking to him, he was with the lights still going.
With the lights still going, yeah. And this is the man that got out and caked in mud and...
Yeah, just absolutely caked with mud. And there are obviously many people who are lucky to be alive tonight, many people who were... You hear a fire truck behind me. That's coming up north on Rock Road right now. So
you see some apparently patients. No way to know if these were patients who were already in the hospital or injured with the tornado.
Yeah,
right?
that looks like more of a convalescent type person who, and obviously just think about being a patient lying in that hospital, perhaps incapacitated. not really being able to do anything. And here this storm comes through there, just comes barreling right through there. And, you know, that hospital pretty much took a direct hit.
I was going to ask, because do you know, I mean, would there be shelter on an Air Force base? I mean, do you have any indication that there's some place to go besides the middle of a building, any underground type thing?
That is a good question. Now, when we talked before, you had mentioned that you were wondering just how much warning they got, but according to a person I talked to, there were airmen, you know, outside running for cover, actually running towards the hospital. So that is a question that still remains to be answered. Just how much shelter did they have there? You know, we don't know about that at this point. But again, as we said, we're not hearing of any major injuries. You know, that may change, but if indeed that is the case, that would truly be a miracle out here, because this looks very much like Heston, having been there. You know, several of the buildings on the base have been damaged. Let me just run through those a minute if I can. Again, a child care center, we were told, heavily damaged. The recreation center, as we mentioned, the hospital, you know, several buildings, and I'm sure that's just going to keep mounting as we go on and on. Take a look at this truck here.
Yeah.
It was just in an arcing shape, and it's...
Where was that? Just along Rock Road?
Yeah, that was south on Rock Road, and the axle of the vehicle was actually about 100 yards to the east, and you could see a deep crater, well, actually more like scrapes that had been cut in the street from this truck being thrown from one end to the other. An EMS truck is passing me right now.
All right, Bob.
People have been getting amazing pictures of the tornado. Joining me now is Lyndon Vicks. Lyndon is a local attorney. He was near Pawnee and Rock Road, just right at your house, I guess, as you watched this go over. It must have been quite an experience. Tell me about it.
It was. I was out on the back deck watching the tornado as it came from the southwest, from the Hayesville, Derby area, through the McConnell area, and watched it for as long as I thought was a good idea.
What goes through your mind as you're shooting this? Are you concerned about your own safety?
Well, at first I wasn't, because it looked like it was really not going to be a threat to our area at all. And then for a while it stopped moving to the left and right, which I could only anticipate meant it was moving forward, and it did get a lot closer at that point. And yeah, then I was concerned about our neighborhood and home.
Now, about how far away are you from it at this point?
It's hard to tell, especially when you're looking through a camera lens like this, but I'd say that right about there, it's no more than 1.5 to 2 miles away.
Are you thinking at any point, maybe I shouldn't be doing this?
Yeah, I've got my wife and daughter in the basement at this point, and I think it isn't too long after this that you'll see me not filming anymore.
Well, I'm not a tornado expert, but I've seen enough tornadoes to know that these were some very large tornadoes that occurred in the south part of Wichita, and of course did the damage in Hayesville and around the McConnell area, and have done a lot of damage in the Butler County area. These tornadoes, as you're watching it, strange things happen when you have the camera on your shoulder. I know from being a photographer myself, you tend to think that you're immune from injury, and that this is not really happening because you're looking through the lens. Did that?
That's in McConnell, and I got the kids and the family down in the basement, and then I went back up to look, and it had shifted to the north a little bit. And I went outside with my camera and got up on the roof. It was fairly easy because it's an embankment up the roof, and that's what I filmed. This is probably within 3/4 of a mile north of us now. We're on 31st Street South, and that's looking towards Pawnee, and the tornado's going east.
It looks like there are multiple vortexes there, like one on the left side of the screen starting to come down with the one that's already on the ground.
Right, that did show up right at this point in time, but later on it's just one funnel, and this is about 6:37 when I started taping, and I ended probably about 6:45.
Now, we believe that this is the one that went through the McConnell area and skirted along the southern part of Wichita, may even have done the damage in the Hayesville area that you shot here. This is a massive funnel. You can tell how strong and intense this storm system was as it moved through the area, and all day long today, forecasters have been saying that this weather system that was moving through was capable of producing very severe weather, and they were right. Unfortunately, the severe weather has occurred right here in southern Sedgwick County and in the city of Wichita. This tornado shot about 6:37 this evening by Tony Mahoney. What's going through your mind as you're watching this? Are you thinking that you should be in the basement?
Well, like I said, when I initially saw it, it was due west of us, and I was concerned at that point in time. But then as I went up, it was north of us. The winds were strong out of the south, and it was clear to the south, so I figured I could take a few shots before I had to take cover.
Could you hear anything at this point?
No, there was not any loud noise or anything. You could just see the debris flying around, and the only
park there, and it's a lot of damage.
Okay, now this is the River Oaks Mobile Home Park that you shot.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the actual tornado as it went through?
No, I was there afterwards.
Oh, we can see that there's a lot of damage. About what time did you shoot this?
About 6:30.
About 6:30. About how many mobile homes would you say have been destroyed in this area?
About 20, 25 of them.
Were there any injuries that you saw?
I didn't see any injuries.
Okay. How soon were you there after it
Just as soon as after it went through. I headed home from work and see if my wife was all right. And
now, do you live in this park?
Yes, I do.
Was your house hurt?
No, it's at the other end, and it didn't take no damage at all.
Okay. What did people say as you were taking the video? Were they in shock?
Yeah, a lot of people were running around, shutting off the gas.
That's always a problem anytime a tornado like this goes through a mobile home park, is you have hot electric wires and, of course, gas spewing out of the areas. And we want to warn people at this point, too, please stay out of these areas. They don't need people down there just looking and just gawking. People have their lives to get on with. There are some rescue operations still going on. We might make mention that there is still a problem getting the ambulances in and out of certain parts of the city. This is a very serious disaster that has hit Wichita. And so people, if they don't need to be out, they need to be staying home. Obviously, major damage to this mobile home park at the River Oaks Mobile Home Park.
Take a look down there, again by Mike Phelps in our weather department. People running. The sirens I hear in the background.
So that, as far as we know and have been told, that was the hospital on the McConnell Air Force Base, a facility that could have been used most certainly tonight had it been functional, but from what we can see, that facility itself took a direct hit. The people who were being treated earlier today at McConnell Hospital, we understand, were then taken to St. Joseph Medical Center. So if you are seeing this, God forbid, for the first time, and knew someone who was at McConnell Hospital being taken care of, the information we have is they were transported to St. Joseph Medical Center. But again, the enormity of the devastation, this again in the area of the hospital on McConnell Air Force Base. Pictures taken very recently by Mike Phelps in our weather department.
Look at that ambulance there. That was in the building, and it got hit, but fortunately it was functional. In fact, there were several emergency pieces of equipment in that building. As you see the soldiers cordoning off the area, they weren't letting any civilians onto the base carrying their M16 rifles. Obviously some type of official or unofficial state of emergency here as they just desperately try to get organized. One thing hampering those efforts, we're told, is that they have a power problem here. Some of the electricity knocked out. However, I just talked to a gentleman who came walking up because they won't let you drive in here now. He said that he was able to contact his son-in-law and find out that he was okay. Again, the soldiers just have to make sure that the perimeter is secured around McConnell because there is some heavy, heavy damage. We're told a multi-story gymnasium has been destroyed, a child care center heavily damaged, a recreation center, and you can see for yourself the pictures of that hospital, how badly damaged it was. However, there are some important facts that we found out since we talked to you last. Some of the people we've talked to, one who was in the hospital, in the emergency room at the time, said that they did receive warning. However, according to him, that hospital did not have a basement in it, so they just had to duck for cover. Another soldier I talked to had just been in Operation Desert Storm. Now, I talked to that first man who was in the emergency room of the hospital just a few moments before this tornado came through. We've got an interview with him to talk about what he saw, what he heard, what he experienced.
First up, what was it like being in there? It was just unbelievable. It started out, they told us to move from one room into the hallway. They said that was the safest area. The next thing that happened is that they said, get down, get on the floor. My son hit the floor. I covered him. And the next thing we knew, the doors flew open. The wind came in. Just such a rush, you couldn't believe it. The tiles fell off of the ceiling. The wires came down. The chairs were flying down the hallway. And 30 seconds later, it was over.
Tell me about how much warning you had.
It hit the floor approximately 15 to 20
we were watching TV, and the cable kept interrupting with 911, telling us where it was and how it was coming closer. So we had warning, and they warned us, and they said, this is where we're going to go if it gets closer. We got there. We did just what they said. They were in control. They did a good job. We were lucky.
Was there a basement at all in that building?
There's no basement. We were strictly in the hallway, and they said that's the one. The windows started blowing through. The cars that were in between the two wings of the hospital were all destroyed. My car is, all the windows were blown out. It looks like it's been torched. There's a metal rod sticking through the windshield into the driver's seat. The devastation, there are 2 cars in the lobby of the hospital.
Terradyne, 159th and East Central. Earl Evans took these pictures. All right, that's obviously a massive tornado near Terradyne. That's the Terradyne housing development you're looking at there. Earl Evans with those pictures. Unbelievable.
I think you're about to see right now as those houses are about to be leveled right before our eyes. You're going to see the actual devastation that can be wrought by a tornado as it comes up upon those homes. And see how it veered away from the homes, actually. It looked like it was coming right up behind him. And
people in the streets that had been injured. There were trucks taking people in and out of the area with minor injuries, with major injuries. There were trucks taking what looked like to be dead bodies out of the area. It was just a horrifying experience. This is the scene. This is at Andover Road and Central. This is the intersection. As you're seeing people that are being treated right there in the middle of the intersection. This is a trailer court. This is the Golden Spur mobile home trailer park there in Andover, which is just south of Central in Andover. Here people are walking around looking for anyone who might be trapped in the rubble. It was completely leveled, as you can see. Several homes in the area were also just completely leveled. We do know that we have heard that there are 6 fatalities, 6 reported deaths, and when we were there on the scene, there was one confirmed death that we knew of. They were, like I said, they were walking around the area looking for bodies. I mean, you can just see the devastation. It was incredible. I just never have seen anything like it. People were walking through the area, and I might add that while we were on the scene here in Andover, another storm came upon us, and with marble-sized hail. So that community is still being pounded. When we left there just a little bit ago, they were still getting more rain. This is more of the mobile home part. You can just see it was just, I mean, it was leveled. I've never seen anything like it.
Shelley, this is the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park?
That's right, the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park. And we also heard that we saw the Andover Plaza Shopping Center was also hit. That includes like a little quick shop. This is the fatality right here that we saw. And I don't know if you saw that picture of the little boy. They were looking for him as we were walking around. It was just awful.
Shelley, most of the fatalities then that you saw or imagine came from Andover probably came from this mobile home park, right?
That's what we're thinking. And I mean, there was just piles upon piles of rubble and you know, torn up, mobile home pieces, and it was just incredible. I've never seen anything like it before. People were walking around looking for people, hollering, hello, are you in? Is there anyone in there? People walking around screaming, my baby, where's, you know, it was awful.
Shelley, was there wind damage all over the town of Andover, or was it just one swath cut through the center of the town?
Well, the area that we were in, which was just south of Central, right to the east of Andover Road, looked like it took a direct hit. It was just, I would say, a half-mile stretch, because the shopping center that is there at Central and Andover Road, just to the north of Central and to the east, wasn't damaged at all. There's a Wendy's there on the corner. If any of you know where know the city of Andover, the Wendy's was fine. But everything that looked like just south and a little to the east of that area was just completely devastated, just completely leveled.
5th Street South and Hydraulic, is that correct?
Yeah, this was
DJ Wood shot this
about an hour ago, I believe, about 8:30ish. This is the second tornado. I don't believe this one did as much damage. Obviously, it's a lot smaller tornado, but 55th and Hydraulic.
But you can imagine the people seeing this after having heard of the destruction around them, what they thought seeing this come at them. And we can listen in now and actually hear the voices of the people watching this tornado at the time.
To get some more information on that tornado.
Honey, be careful.
It's going to be around 55th South. And
is it going away from us?
Officers are reporting maybe 10 to 15 houses in Hayesville that have been damaged by the tornado.
Is it going away from us?
They're saying that there's going to be damage in the area of 55th and Broadway and also 53rd Street South.
I sure hope you're right.
So we're trying to listen in and get as much information early as we can on possible damage by the tornado that has gone through Hayesville, and apparently it's still on the ground around 55th and Broadway.
What were you thinking about? Was it coming right towards you at this point?
Straight ahead. Straight. That's straight south. I guess it'd be southwest of my house, coming straight at us.
Why aren't you? And I've asked a lot of people this evening, and I think if that was happening to me, I'd be hitting the basement. How come you weren't?
Well, it was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. I've waited a long time to see one of these, and I finally saw it, and I wanted to film it. I was talking to the neighbors last night about tornadoes, and I said sooner or later I'm going to get me one, and I got one. But I knew when to bail out. I knew enough.
What were your neighbors doing at this point? Was everybody out on their porch, or were the other people in the basement?
Neighbor across the road came running out, said tornado. He went downstairs, and everybody else was silent. I was the only one out there. My wife was behind me in the back.
This was on the ground in Morris County, about 4 miles east of Dunlap. Sheriff's office in neighboring Wabunsee County says the tornado touched down several times in a northeast swath that cut by the town of Maple Hill. That tornado moved east of Rossville in neighboring Shawnee County, damaged a home and a barn, according to dispatchers. So there were several tornadoes. This is the one near Cherryvale. They have $250,000 damage around Cherryvale. That is, again, in southeast Kansas. The twister was part of the powerful morning storm cell that moved through the southeast. No injuries reported here.
Barrages and flipping over small cars.
Over there, these clouds started to swirling around. I've never seen a tornado before in my life, and it started coming down to a point, and my brother-in-law said, get in the basement, it's coming. We ran down, and it all just broke loose. You could just hear the glass and the popping and the roaring, and it was just really scary.
Everyone in Hayesville managed to get to safety and avoid injury, but they can't get the noise of the terrible tornado out of their minds.
This car was in that driveway over there. It rolled over the top of that truck and landed here the opposite direction. It picked my car completely up and rolled it over.
Just as folks began makeshift repairs, another thunderstorm hit, sending shockwaves through the already devastated homes.
You know how, like if you pull a nail out of wood or something, you can hear it ripping or something? It was just like that, only it was the whole house.
Does anybody have a radio that we can hear?
First tornado I ever saw in my whole life, and I'm getting it on video camera.
They were the first tornadoes many of us saw up close. In Argonia, this one was just forming. David Vaughn could barely see the funnel by the time it hit Pawnee and Webb. He did, however, see all of the debris that it picked up and tossed through his neighborhood. Sirens blared a warning to residents at Pawnee and Rock as this tornado approached. It would darken as it touched down. Perhaps photographer Richard Heath shot the most compelling video of the day. People sifting through destroyed homes in South Wichita. Phil LeBeau, KAKE News Nightside.
Wichita seems like ages ago. It was just after 6 tonight. Much has happened since then. KAKE's Marty Matthews reports on the damage there.
And you hear that? You hear that?
I hear it.
Oh, man, look at this.
David Ray stopped taping the tornado shortly after this, then headed to the basement with his family. About the same time, the Paul family did the same thing.
I mean, it was real loud, and then you heard the ripping wood. I mean, you could just hear it just tearing. And we kept expecting something to land on us, and nothing ever did. And it finally was quiet, and we opened the door, which was hard to get open, but and we got out.
Brenda, I want to keep that for memory's sake.
Oh, I'm sure.
The Paul's home was one of dozens destroyed, many others damaged in this neighborhood. But neighbors and emergency crews say, at least in this development, they had no major injuries. Neighborhoods just a few blocks away weren't so lucky. In South Wichita, Marty Matthews, KAKE News.
As it hit McConnell Air Force Base, and as you can see, it started off small, and as it gathered debris and gathered momentum, became very large. Some estimates a quarter mile to a half mile wide. This was taken just outside a door at McConnell Air Force Base by a very, very brave Sgt Todd Kravitt. This is home videotape now. Let's just listen. You can see, and you'll see later on in this videotape that it will even gather more momentum, and you will see the tornado pass, what, I'd say 100 yards in front of this Sgt Todd Kravitt, but obviously he refused to go in. He wanted to get videotape of this tornado.
It's unbelievable. You can see the debris flying through the air, and you wonder at what point he realized that it was going to miss him. I don't know how long he would have stood there with the camera had it continued to come right at him, but right through the parking lot area, you see the buildings flying up.
Sucking up the buildings. Debris flying through the air. As you can see, just...
A roof apparently flung off. That's not base housing and so forth, probably not the most secure buildings.
It's just unbelievable that he can be, what, 100, 200 yards away and not be touched by this and get that kind of videotape. You can see the debris still flying across the parking lot there.
I want to thank Todd for that video and say that we're glad he got through.
Maybe we can let it go. Is it going to go past this building? We haven't seen this part of the videotape
this is a new section for us.
Maybe we can let it go and see if he's got... There's a fire, as you can spot there on the top of that building. It leaves this three-story building intact.
Unbelievable. We'll be back in a moment. We understand there's some more news coming out of Andover. We'll take you there live in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
A path of destruction through Kansas and Oklahoma. At least 30 people are dead and scores more are injured after the deadly storms whipped through that region yesterday. In some areas, damage was so bad that rescue workers had to get road crews with graders to get to some of the victims. Officials report hundreds of homes and other buildings are leveled, and the search for victims, meanwhile, continues. One of the hardest hit areas was the town of Andover, Kansas. At least 22 of the deaths occurred there, and officials say that 500 homes were damaged. Kansas's McConnell Air Force Base also suffered heavy damage to its facilities, but no fatalities were reported. Wilma Henriksen has a report on the devastation now in Hayesville, Kansas.
This woman was relieved to find her sister, Vicki Stein, unhurt after she heard that the Cox farm had been destroyed by the tornado. 5 families lost everything.
Cousins, aunts, Grandma Cox, that's 90 years old, was in the cellar, and aunts and uncles, my kids, everybody, we were all in there. We have nothing. There was 5 families living here. We have nothing.
They said that he was out in the field. Maybe he run back in the ditch.
Minutes after the storm passed, Bill LaFont and his friends searched for Bill's son, Craig, who was playing outside when the storm hit. After a short time, they found a note saying that Craig had went to a friend's home and was safe.
They're probably okay. Yeah.
The gas we can smell here, is it safe?
Move down there towards that highway patrolman.
What about that telephone?
Meanwhile, officials were trying to move people out of the area because of a gas leak.
She broke below the stop, but it's plastic, and it broke above the stop, and I think I just should stop off.
Then the search for the injured began. Emergency officials had problems reaching 3 women who were hit by flying debris. They were finally taken out by a truck.
Mark, you got some more down here? 2.
A stretcher was used to reach the ambulances to take them to the hospital. Most were saved because they took shelter, and everyone says they are just lucky to be alive. Wilma Henriksen, Hayesville.
Local news reporter Greg Jarrett and photographer Ted Lewis shot these pictures from under a bridge while a twister passed overhead. No one under the bridge was seriously injured or hurt, although they were obviously shaken up. At least 3 tornadoes have also reportedly touched down near Tyler, Texas. So far, authorities there report no injuries or major damage.
Dependable. Now, KAKE News Weekend.
unbelievable storm takes a deadly toll on Kansas. This dramatic home video shows just how powerful it all was.
One huge storm-spawning tornadoes devastated the lives of people along a 43-mile path. Andover is one of the hardest hit areas. So far, 17 people are confirmed dead, many others hurt, and hundreds are homeless. These aerial pictures give you an idea of just how big and powerful the storm was. It's the worst devastation seen here in decades. The death toll is up to 17 and may continue to grow in the small town of Andover. Rescue workers spent the day digging through what used to be Golden Spur Mobile Home Park. Joining us now via Skylink is senior reporter Mike Taylor. Mike.
It is a beautiful afternoon here in Andover. That is in sharp contrast to the devastating and deadly storms that tore this community apart last night. 1,500 people, 1/3 of Andover's residents, are homeless tonight, trying now to recover their possessions and regain control of their lives.
Get further south, we're going to get right into the middle of the path of the tornado.
The Golden Spur Mobile Home Park looks like a landfill. Nearly 300 mobile homes are destroyed, wiped off the face of the earth. The search for bodies continued throughout the day. Sam Peters and Wichita Wings soccer player Chico Borja were playing golf at the nearby Terradyne Country Club when the tornado hit. Minutes later, they rushed into the mobile home park to rescue Peter's 83-year-old mother, who was hiding in a bathtub as the tornado tore apart neighboring mobile homes.
A nurse grabbed me and I said, my mother's in there, and I ran clear in there, and to look at this, there was nothing left. And to see 3 trailers gone, and the one next to hers, the walls and ceiling was gone, and then hers, the windows were blown in. There she was in the bathtub. That was just...
Was she injured at all?
No.
My best friend's mom was here, and we rushed in there and got her out, and I got a dog out. Another person was lying dead next to me, and there was another guy that I lended a jacket to, another guy I gave a hat to. I mean, what can you do? It's incredible.
In this housing area, there were more than 100 homes. Across the road, the mobile home park, about 300 more. Mayor Jack Finelson estimates that 1/3 of Andover has been left homeless by this storm. State Representative Susan Wagle toured the area and looked at what used to be her church, St. Vincent de Paul Parish.
I'm real concerned. I just want to make sure Father Mike is still here with us. I haven't heard that last night when I came in around 3 o'clock in the morning at the headquarters, they didn't know if they found him yet.
Beth Hurt owns a nearby restaurant that was badly damaged in the storm.
It was scary.
We just watched it get bigger and bigger and bigger. The closer it got, the bigger it got.
The latest tallies, 17 dead have been found in the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park. The search has been called off for tonight. The mayor is hopeful that there will be no more victims found. However, some other officials privately fear that there may be some more bodies buried in the rubble of the mobile home park. The search will start up again at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. For now, residents are being allowed back into the area to try to search through the rubble to find any of their belongings. Much of that had to be bulldozed this afternoon in a search for any victims who might have been left that may have destroyed what possessions some of these residents had left, if any. There is a curfew that will be imposed tonight at 9 o'clock in Andover. That is in an effort to prevent looting.
Mike, what about disaster aid for these people?
There is still a question there. This afternoon, Senators Bob Dole, Nancy Kassebaum, Governor Joan Finney, and officials from Wichita and Sedgwick County toured the disaster area in helicopters. They are promising Andover residents to do what they can to provide assistance that may include some federal or state disaster aid. The damage estimate here, Grace, is $50 million.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Mike Taylor reporting live from Andover. Andover residents and city officials are disputing whether or not sirens went off, warning people of the coming danger. Andover resident Beth Hurt claims she never heard a siren. She says if she hadn't stepped out of her restaurant, she would have never known a tornado was coming right at her.
No warning at all. We could hear the sirens in Wichita, but no sirens went off in Andover at all. One police car we saw go down the road, they went halfway down the street, turned around and came back.
City Councilman Ray Potenza backs Hurt's claims. He says the police department did flip the switch, but the alarm at Andover and Central did not go off. Andover police say that's when officers drove up and down the streets with sirens blaring and using PA systems to warn people to take cover. Another alarm at the fire station in Andover did sound, but it was nearly a mile and a half away from the area hardest hit. EMS says all sirens in Sedgwick County went off. The Butler County Sheriff says all sirens there went off last night. Officials warned those sirens are not designed to be heard in your home, so some people watching TV or others with loud noise in the house may not have heard the sirens.
And Grace, even more information from Andover now. Thousands in Andover and Wichita remain without any power tonight, and KG&E says some may not have any power until Tuesday. Transmission lines knocked down by the storm are lining an 8 to 9 mile stretch of East Kellogg, and that alone would keep crews busy for days, but they're also having to deal with poles down in other places hit by tornadoes, such as Hayesville, Oaklawn, and South Wichita. Don Elliott of KG&E says people in those areas should make arrangements for taking care of perishable food because power won't be fully restored until at least Tuesday. And one of the positive things we see coming out of disasters like this is all the help that turns up. Help from agencies like the Salvation Army and the American Red Cross. KAKE's Chris Frank visited one of the shelters in Andover.
Hundreds left homeless are finding food and shelter at places like the Faith Baptist Church in Andover. Many of the victims here lived in the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park, the area that took the worst hit from the storm.
Everything is gone.
Folks like Terry Hammond survived what she calls her worst nightmare.
I can't begin to explain the feeling, the horror. You feel so helpless, and you feel like you're gonna die, and you don't know where to go.
And it's because people don't know where to go after disaster strikes that agencies like the American Red Cross are so important.
We try to make sure that they have a place to stay and that they have food.
Rebuild. Start over.
Susan Arnett and her husband Robert lost the home they built just 4 years ago.
We couldn't hear no boards splintering. We couldn't hear the boards breaking.
No.
It just a big roar.
The Arnetts now have found friends to stay with. For those still homeless, shelters like these will be home. In Andover, Chris Frank, KAKE News.
Stories that touch us all. And we should point out that shelter at the Faith Baptist Church has been moved. The Andover shelter is now at the Andover Intermediate School. That's located at 1413 North Main in Andover.
Volunteers are showing up by the hundreds in Andover. KAKE's Jan Gardner joins us now live via Skylink from Andover with more on the volunteer effort there. Jan?
You can hardly, when you see this kind of devastation, you can hardly resist the temptation to help out in some way. And a lot of people are donating their time and effort to contribute to this monumental task.
Early this morning, volunteers started arriving at Andover Middle School. Many of them are Mennonites and come prepared with shovels and tools. They're organized and waiting for clearance to go into the disaster areas.
We'll go in zones, and each one will have a radio, and we'll just, from the head office up here, we'll direct volunteers to each area where it's needed.
We caught a ride-in with members of an Andover church group. They're here to help friends whose house has been hit.
Their stuff has blown into the neighbor's yard and 2 blocks north. We are searching for a bank safe that was built into the house, and we are searching for a file cabinet that has all the church records in it and everything on computer disk.
Volunteers fan out to retrieve bits and pieces of the Terry household.
Can you believe there's an egg here that's not broken?
They also rescue some glassware, but this car is a total loss.
3. There we go. Good drive.
Storm victims appreciate the extra muscle.
These are all members of our Sunday school class at First Baptist Church of Augusta. Well, not all of them, I don't know. There's a lot of people here I don't even know.
Volunteers are pouring in by the minute, some from unlikely places.
We're members of the Sports Car Club of America. We put on the Lake Afton Grand Prix every year. And our friend who lives down the street is a friend of ours through the club, and people just started calling one another and said, let's go out and check Marty out and make sure he's all right.
There isn't much to save in this neighborhood. Sometimes a hug and emotional support is what does the most good.
Now, for people who still want to volunteer their effort in the cleanup effort, they're still being asked to report to Andover Middle School. That is on Andover Road, just south of 21st Street. Both the Red Cross and Mennonite Disaster Services are set up there to organize the volunteer efforts. They expect, though, that the volunteer efforts or organization today will shut down at dark tonight. Now, if you don't want to contribute just elbow grease, there are a lot of other things you can contribute, particularly clothes and food, to the Salvation Army. And here are some drop-off points for the Salvation Army. 136 North Emporia. Also, you can donate things at KAKE TV. That is a drop-off point for Salvation Army, and the address is 1500 North West Street. If you have any other questions about how you might help the Salvation Army, you can call 265-7823. And again, volunteer efforts here are expected to shut down at dark tonight. Grace?
Jan, help from volunteers that no doubt is very welcome today. Thanks for that report. The toughest part of this ordeal for many people in Andover has been the uncertainty of not knowing where their relatives are. But Mike Ewan reports volunteers have set up an information network to calm some of the fear.
Missing persons.
Do you know where he lived at?
The cellular phones never stop ringing at the Casa del Taco in this Andover shopping center. It's the sound of Andover residents worried about missing relatives, trying to find some shred of information that will calm their fears. Names of those found and still missing are given to Linda Miller, whose fingers move constantly over her computer keyboard. Miller, who lives in Andover, recognizes many of the names of those still missing.
It's real hard. It's real hard. I just have to have faith that we're going to find them too, those that are missing.
From that computer, the list of names is sent over to this computer, where they're organized and alphabetized according to last name and address. That way, worried relatives can call in and find out where their loved ones are, and whether they've been found or still missing.
Roger, this is WB0LQK. Are you reading me all right?
W0BZ.
Yeah.
Also here, an amateur radio club from Newton. What is normally a hobby for these people quickly becomes a vital information link.
You kind of hate for the disaster to bring this kind of thing out, but it's been pretty excellent with everybody coming together to help out.
The work is constant, but as one volunteer says, each time we tell somebody their relatives are fine and where to find them, we know it's worth it. In Andover, Mike Ewan, KAKE News.
Thank you, Mike. And as that tornado moved out of the McConnell Air Force Base last night, it headed towards the affluent Timber Lakes area near Highway 54 and the Sedgwick-Butler County line. From these aerial shots from KAKE's Sky 10 helicopter, you can see the tornado made a distinct path through the neighborhoods. And as with much of the damage, some houses destroyed, and then a few feet away, no damage at all. Yesterday's tornadoes were on the ground for unusually long periods of time. And as you heard earlier, the path of this tornado, 43 miles. And as we look at the tape, you'll notice some homes that were destroyed were isolated with no other homes around. It's almost as if the tornado took aim. And some startling facts. Debris from homes was found falling out of the sky as far away as Emporia. One of our news crews was coming back from Topeka, Grace, and they stopped at the McDonald's on the turnpike north of Emporia. And they found debris there. It included canceled checks from Hayesville. Another paraphernalia was found on the ground that was from the Wichita area. Absolutely a devastating storm.
Unbelievable. Marveled at the power of the U.S. military. But that military might was defenseless when confronted by the fury of Operation Mother Nature. Mark Chamberlain reports from McConnell Air Force Base.
They may have had it on sophisticated radar, but after that, all McConnell personnel could do was pray. Like Paul Bunyan wielding a giant rototiller, the tornado churned through the base like a fallow garden. This is, or was, the base hospital. Cars were rocketed into the building and wrapped bumper to bumper around trees. Along with the hospital, the community center, the gym, the bank, the base exchange, and the credit union were destroyed. 6 other buildings, including this Burger King, opened in January, suffered heavy damage.
Call it irony or taxpayer luck. The twister jumped over the flight line here at McConnell and completely missed the complement of B-1 bombers and expensive F-16 fighter jets. So the mission here still continues at the base.
Further to the northeast, the storm was much less kind to base housing and Winetier Elementary School. Michelle Morgan was seeing her home for the first time. Her husband was at home with their dog.
So I was just, you know, thinking, oh, well, I'm a cool dude, and I was out in the back porch taking pictures of it coming in, and when I saw it hit McConnell and I could see debris, I was amazed. I mean, it was just like looking up like this, and I could see debris flying around. I got laid down in the bathtub and held my dog as tight as I could, and the winds just started picking up, and I could hear the windows being blown out, and then all of a sudden just like sticks breaking, you know, the walls just came crashing down, and then we started moving.
17 people suffered minor injuries, and while hundreds are now homeless, the feeling of neighborhood has never been stronger. From McConnell, Mark Chamberlain, KAKE News.
A Strategic Air Command disaster team is expected on the base later today to start an assessment. For those in the military, being injured in the line of duty is one of the risks that comes with the job. But even if you're used to dodging bullets, that still doesn't prepare you for dodging a tornado. Air Force Master Sergeants Jay Taylor and Earl Schwiebach were both injured by the tornado. Schwiebach was pelted by concrete blocks as the NCO club collapsed on him. And Taylor is just back from 8 months of duty in the Persian Gulf, but he picked the wrong time to come home.
A stick or a piece of 2x4 about 6 to 8 inches long and 2 inches in diameter went all the way through my calf. And I remember I got hit in the head, on the back of the head with a large piece of concrete. And about that time, the fence that I was laying against had started to roll over on top of me. And I thought I was going, you know, I was just going for a ride.
Taylor says compared to last night, he'll take the Gulf anytime. If you need information about the whereabouts or well-being of McConnell personnel, you can call 652-4070 or 652-4071.
And of course, another community hard hit by the tornadoes was Hayesville. Hayesville is located just a few miles south of Wichita. There, the tornado tore a path right through a residential area. 15 homes are destroyed, 7 have moderate damage, and 63 homes had minor to moderate damage. Dozens of families were left homeless. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured. KAKE's Megan Black reports today the whole community is pulling together to help the storm victims cope.
There's not much left of about 20 homes and yards in the Timber Lane subdivision. The tornado ripped off rooftops, smashed in walls, and destroyed cars. Now there's just debris.
And then I came out. I didn't think it'd done that much damage until I came upstairs. And there it was, man, it was a mess. everything we got's about gone.
Hundreds of volunteers, family members, and friends came to help the tornado victims sort through their homes and, in some cases, tear them down. Many of the folks came by because they knew these people just needed some help.
This is just wonderful. All these people everywhere helping people who they don't even know, some of them.
This could have been my place. And I know people that own property and they see all the people coming out to help them out. It's got to make them feel pretty good and lucky that there's so many friends and stuff.
Despite the fact it may seem like the entire community of Hayesville, plus many other volunteers, are here to help in the cleanup efforts, the tornado victims know it's going to take a long time before they fully recover from the devastation.
There's a roof that came off my house, part of it anyway.
Dave Richardson says it only took 10 seconds for the twister to rip his house apart. It took his family 19 years to put it together.
It's going to be months. They're going to have to bulldoze this over and just start over again.
Even with the massive destruction in Hayesville, the folks here are thankful. Thankful the destruction wasn't even worse, and thankful that everyone survived. In Hayesville, Megan Black, KAKE News.
And in Hayesville, in all, 27 homes are not livable.
Jeff Van Kuren captures the destruction left behind in Andover. Not a thing is left standing in this Andover neighborhood. South and east of there, 13-year-old Tel Wood shot this video from his house 2 miles south of McConnell Air Force Base.
Oh, it's hitting McConnell and South Wichita bad. It's huge.
Michelle Pickard brings us this video of the same tornado, but from the other side. Joe Harris discovered this tornado shot from Grand Avenue in Hayesville.
This is in Hayesville, Kansas. It's 6:16.
Richard Rico shows the devastating tornado left dozens of people in Hayesville with nothing but each other.
Trailer park.
I just thank God we're alive.
For life. Next door, the Capps family made it out alive, but not without injury.
It just started whirling us all around and slammed me face down, and the door was over me and a mattress. And
Well, I'll tell you what, I ain't never been so scared in my life when I seen that thing come over my trailer. We took off.
Doris Cottle and her sons lived through the storm, but she says she'll always be haunted by the tornado's fury and the grim discovery she made moments afterwards.
Right north of my driveway, we were standing at the end of the driveway, and we looked over and someone said, "Is that a little doll?" And I said, "Oh my God, no, that's a little boy or little girl, little baby." It looked like he's about 2.5 maybe. Laid there covered with mud, and of course we called an officer. He came over and checked him, and he was gone.
Even now, the Cottles don't know who the child was or where he came from. Many parents face some desperate moments, wondering where their children were in the storm.
I was worried about Johnny, and I couldn't get to him. He couldn't get to me.
Equipment they brought into the River Oaks Mobile Home Park was a high loader, and that was used in a search and rescue effort. Now, city crews and the Marine Reserves are clearing the wood scraps and twisted mobile home frames. Rounding up enough equipment and workers is difficult because damage is so widespread. Can you get a hold of it, Mike? Yeah, here, Barbara. Dozens of volunteers are combing the debris for anything they can salvage. This group from Vickers Electromech Company convinced their bosses to give them the day off so they could help.
It's pretty humbling to see all of this. It really is. Really makes you thankful for what you do have, especially since we knew these people and picking through and finding baby pictures and cards that they had sent back and forth to each other for Christmas and Father's Day and things. So some of us, it's touched us pretty deep.
The volunteers say they will stick with the efforts as long as they can, and city officials are pledging to keep their equipment in the area until the cleanup work is complete. Mike Taylor, KAKE News.
And staying in that same basic neighborhood, certainly one of the most poignant stories yet to come out of the devastation. A Wichita reservist home today from Saudi Arabia says the storm damage is worse than anything he saw during the Gulf War. KAKE's Jan Gardner has that soldier's bittersweet homecoming to a house destroyed by the tornado.
Army reservist Steve Jacobs has been in Saudi Arabia since January.
It's good to be home.
His wife Karen is overjoyed and relieved to have someone to lean on.
I was in Hafar al-Batin in northern Saudi Arabia, and Saturday night about 9 o'clock in the evening, my personnel officer came and told me she had a Red Cross message from the States from my wife saying our home had been destroyed by a tornado.
Oh, I was hoping he was going to be able to come back right away. I thought for sure he would. I just knew once we got a hold of him, they'd send him straight home.
The Jacobs live on 53rd Street in South Wichita. The roof of the house is gone, but the yellow ribbons are still here, and so is the flag. It's not the homecoming either one of them expected.
It's okay.
The house is a shambles, but the fireplace Jacobs put in before he left is still in good shape. Furniture and belongings that were salvageable have already been taken out.
Oh my God.
Debris from the trailer park that was behind their house is strewn all over the backyard. Some trailers are completely gone.
Did anybody in this neighborhood get killed, honey?
I don't think so.
Jacob's unit was scheduled to return home soon anyway. His wife has spent weeks preparing the house.
I had all new curtains up
Fixed it all up pretty
Steve.
for me, didn't you?
Yeah, and I wallpapered the bathroom and everything, and I heard he was coming home soon, so I had everything ready, and it's all gone. It's just all dirty.
Jacob says he's glad to be home even though the house is wrecked. He wonders what his wife has been through and is glad she was alive to greet him. Jan Gardner, KAKE News.
The Jacobs say they plan to live in an apartment for a while until they can sort things out and start their lives over anew.
Uses his camcorder to document traffic stops. He never imagined using it to record the final moments of terror as the tornado devastated the town he has sworn to protect and serve. After warning as many people as he could in the time left, it was time for Paul to try and save himself.
Don't get this way. It's been on the ground for probably 10 minutes now. It doesn't look like it's going to get up. No, it's just about a half a mile fellow. Yeah, all units take cover. Don't stay out any longer. Go for cover.
When I saw the tornado was about to blow me away, I stayed as long as I could. I could see it coming from the northeast, or headed northeast towards me rather. And when I couldn't go again, when I couldn't make another pass without being afraid I was going to get blown away, then I headed for shelter myself.
Well, I'm at 143rd and Pawnee, and I can still see it. It's northeast of me, still on the ground in the Andover area now. It's 81, it just hit my 42. 81, it just 40. Turn Andover up, it's got Andover right now. Just hit the chief's house.
4 days later, Sergeant Paul C. is still on the job, manning the telephones at the Disaster Command Center. He will assess the storm damage to his own home once he is done helping residents clean up what's left of theirs.
And my home got blown away too. I live over there, so I lost my home too. I'm just thankful that my family was safe, and I've been too busy taking care of everybody else.
It is toward the tornado's end that it wreaks its most fatal havoc. The Golden Spur Mobile Home Park, Andover. Little is left to distinguish one home from the next. Backtracking, the tornado has already left its mark in other parts of Andover. By twist of fate, it causes minor damage to the busy Andover Square Shopping Center at Central and Andover Road, and to an apartment complex just behind. Yet before lifting, the tornado levels Andover homes. Before Andover, rural homes are hit. In the exclusive Springdale Lakes area, expensive homes are no match for the fury. Mother Nature even fails to spare Mother Nature. Back to the southwest, McConnell Air Force Base's expensive planes are spared, but not its housing area. The hospital also suffers extensive damage. Toward Hayesville, damage to Oak Lawn. Another mobile home park. Homes in Hayesville itself. The Cox Produce Farm on South Seneca. And in its early stages, homes in Timber Lane at 71st South and Meridian. Photojournalist Dale Messing.
From the air, you really understand how widespread and devastating this thing is. You can't really get a feel for it looking at it from the ground. I took a walking tour of Andover, but from the air, you can really see the path of this tornado, and it was just devastating all the way across that southeast end of Sedgwick County. And
awesome. Oh, jeez.
This is going to be a very wide one. Let's check in once again further south.
What's it doing? Oh, I got the whole thing. Yeah, that's good, honey. Don't go any further closer.
Running back into the rain as the storm continues to move through this part.
Wow.
I've been trying to listen to officers down in the Hayesville area to get some more information on that tornado.
Honey, be careful.
It's going to be around 55th South and
is it going away from us?
Officers are reporting maybe 10 to 15 houses in Hayesville that have been damaged by the tornado.
Is it going away from us?
Saying that there's going to be damage in the area of 55th and Broadway and also 53rd Street South.
I sure hope you're right.
Back again, everything is happening for a while.
We do have reports of a little damage now. A trailer, apparently at least 2 trailers were damaged on Ridge Road, half mile from 49th Street South. This is
If you go heading back, you have any report, Earl? Okay, so that girl is here.
Okay, the latest report, the tornado is still on the ground.
If you got an interior closet, get down in it, shut the door, cover up with a mattress or something if you got it.
Come on, let's go, Leo. Come on!
Yeah, I think it's coming straight this way. Heather, you get in there. I'll be there in a minute.
Southeast Wichita, this is your neighborhood. Moving out of the McConnell Air Force Base area into southeast Wichita around Pawnee and Rock Road. The tornado is on the ground. And damage is occurring with this storm. This is a very dangerous storm.
go. You can't run from one of them.
It's very true. Incredible watching that video. You get an idea of the power of that storm, and there's no wonder why so much damage was done.
Quickly and briefly, see all the clouds from Texas into Oklahoma and central Kansas? Lots of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. But notice this sharp demarcation line right in here. That was the dry line. Notice there's no clouds in here. That's because that's very dry air. So you've got a clash. Dry air to the west, lots of moisture coming up to the east, and then we have a jet stream. And you can see part of the jet stream associated with it, some high clouds across southwest Texas panhandle. That was coming right up into our area. That provided the spin in the clouds. And there's where those thunderstorms developed, right on that dry line. This is 6 o'clock last night. The storm's right over the central Kansas area. Lots of severe weather going on, and as we go on toward darkness, you can see the storms continue to push on to the east. And as I say, this was really not just last night. This was all day long. It started down at 6:52 yesterday morning with 70-mile-an-hour winds reported in Kansas City. 10:45 in the morning, Cherryvale had a tornado with some damage down in that area. Then it took a break for a few hours, and the first reports started a little after 1:30 and continued until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon in northern Kansas with numerous reports of golf ball-sized hail. And almost just before 3 o'clock in Washington County, a tornado reported went just to the west of the town of Washington. And then the stuff started developing in southern Kansas, about 5 miles south of Kingman. They had baseball-sized hail at 2:35. And then the first tornado report came in from near Freeport. At about 5:26, that storm was later sighted near Argonia before it dissipated. Then the next tornado at 5:38 reported 10 miles south of Conway Springs. Then at 5:48, a tornado that hit Goddard. In fact, that tornado was seen by FAA personnel at the control tower at Mid-Continent Airport. They could see it back off to the west. And then right after that, the first report at 5:57, the big one that went through Hayesville and Wichita and Andover. Now, that wasn't all of it, because we went later into the night, more tornadoes over the eastern sections of the state. One of the other bigger ones was up in northeastern Kansas, developed about 3 miles to the northeast of Topeka and tracked along right up into the Atchison area before it finally fell apart. And the last report of a tornado last night was about 5 miles west of Coffeyville. But here's the track of the storm that went through our area. Began down around Clearwater, hit Hayesville, McConnell Air Force Base, over into Andover, then just to the east of Towanda and to the northwest of El Dorado, and it dissipated just about the time it made it into Cassidy. It was altogether too long, a track of somewhere of around 45 to 50 miles, and it was on the ground almost the entire time. And we'll be back a little bit later with some more on your weather for the next several days. Roger.